Discuss the provisions of section 42, 43 and 44 of the Act. What section 42 provides? Section 42 says what? That transfer by person having authority to revoke former transfer. If a person he has authority to revoke former transfer and he again transfers that property for consideration, what will be the consequence of that transfer? It may be unusual for you to think that how a former transfer can be revoked, because you are aware that transfer is an act of party of a person, act of party by which a living person presently conveys property to another. What? Transfer property is an act by which a living person conveys property in present or in future to another living person. So here, that transfer depends upon the total will of a person, desire of a person. That a person has authority to revoke a former transfer and he again transfers that property for consideration. What will be the consequence or what will be the effect of that transfer? This section 42 provides where a person transfers any immovable property. Section 42 is applicable only for transfer of immovable property. Where a person transfers any immovable property, reserving power to revoke the transfer. That means he transfers that immovable property to another, reserving a power to revoke the transfer. In which type of transfer such a power can be revoked, can be reserved? Whether a property is sold, can there be a power to revoke it? No. A property is gifted, there cannot be power to revoke it. There may be power to revoke in certain cases if law permits, say for limited transfer, there may be putting a condition may be imposed that such transfer can be revoked. So, but gift can be revoked in a particular circumstance, but not at the sweet will of the transferor. We will discuss this aspect while discussing the provisions of gift. So, section 42 says, if a person transfers his property, reserving his right to revoke the transfer, and subsequently transfer the property for consideration. You should understand, the subsequent transfer is for consideration. That means either sale, or that is only sale for consideration, transfer is for consideration, or mortgage. So mortgage is also limited transfer, but that is for consideration. If a person has transferred the property, reserving a right to revoke it, and subsequently transfer that property for consideration to another, then such transfer operates in favor of such subsequent transferee, subject to any condition attached to the exercise of the power, as a revocation of the former transfer to the extent of the power. So what it says? Where a person transfers any immovable property, reserving power to revoke the transfer. A person, what it says? Transfers immovable property first, and in that transfer he had reserved a right to revoke that transfer, and thereafter he transferred that property for consideration. Consideration means that may be a sale, or there may be any other transfer for consideration. So in such case, it is to be treated that the previous transfer has been revoked. This is the principle, this is the law as per the provisions of section 42. What it says? To apply the provisions of section 42, first, the transferor has had to transfer that property to another person. That transfer is not an absolute transfer. That transfer is not an absolute transfer like sale, etc. Because once a property is sold, there cannot be a right to cancel it, to revoke it. There may be certain type of transfer where there can be a right can be reserved to revoke that transfer. When a property is transferred to another person and the transferor had reserved the right to revoke that transfer, and thereafter he transferred that property for consideration, then in such case it is to be treated that the previous transfer has been revoked, though it has not been revoked by the transferor by any express document. What it says, illustration will make you clear. A lets a house to B. A has leased a house to B and reserves power to revoke the transfer. He had reserved the power to revoke that lease. If in the opinion of a specific surveyor, or B should make use of it detrimental to its value. There is a limited transfer, like lease of a house, putting a condition that the lessor can revoke that lease if, as per the opinion of a specific surveyor, it is proved that he had used that house detrimenting the value. So in such case, afterwards A, thinking that such a use has been made, afterwards A thought that B, the lessee, had used that house in such a manner, thereby he detrimented its value. He transferred that property, to another for consideration. So this in such case, that is, if again he lets that house to another person, this operates as a revocation of B's lease, subject to the opinion of the surveyor as to B's use of the house having been detrimental to its value. Because the opinion of the surveyor was required for revocation of the earlier lease. So this section 42 is a very simple section. What it says, if a person has transferred the property, reserving his right to revoke that transfer, and thereafter he again transferred that property for consideration, and then such subsequent transfer will take place, will be effective, subject to any other condition if they are for revocation of the former transfer. This is section 42. Now let us discuss the provisions of section 43 of the TP Act. It is very important provision. It is this, sometimes it is called a doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel. Doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel. What is? You are aware of the provision, what is estoppel? Estoppel is there, it is a rule of evidence in section 115 of the Evidence Act. What it says? If a person by his act, declaration or omission has made another person to believe something and to be true, and on that belief the other person had acted upon, had changed his position, then in a suit between that person and that other person, the person who had made such representation cannot deny the truth of the same. This is the rule of evidence. How this rule of evidence of estoppel is applicable in section 43, if you will go through the provision, you will understand it. Try to learn this section. Section 43. Transfer by unauthorized person who subsequently acquires interest in property transfer. A person who is not authorized to transfer a property, he transfers that property. If subsequently, up to that transfer, when that contract of transfer still subsists, if that person acquires any interest in that property, then such transfer will operate at the option of the transferee. This doctrine is known as the doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel, because a person, we go through this section, where a person fraudulently or erroneously represents. This fraudulently was included in this section by subsequent amendment. What? Where a person fraudulently, what is fraudulently? Fraud has been defined in section 17 of the Transfer of Property Act, with intention to defraud. So what it says, that is there in where a person fraudulently or erroneously, fraudulently misrepresenting somebody. Fraud and misrepresentation, we will discuss the difference between fraud and misrepresentation while discussing the provisions of the Contract Act. Let us say where a person fraudulently conceals some fact. Fraud will come when somebody conceals a fact and thereby represents another. When a person fraudulently or erroneously, with an erroneous belief, represents that he is authorized to transfer certain immovable property. A person, first requirement, a person fraudulently or erroneously represents another. What? That he is authorized to transfer any immovable property, certain immovable property, and professes to transfer such property. Why word professes? Professes means declares. Thereby transfer doesn't take place, because the person who had no transferable title, a person who had no title, if fraudulently or erroneously represented another, what is that representation? That he was authorized to transfer certain immovable property and professed to transfer such property for consideration. Again, this transfer, this section 43 will be applicable when such a transfer is made for consideration only, not for gratuitous transfer, not for transfer without consideration. What it says? If a person fraudulently or erroneously, what? Represents another, that he is authorized to transfer certain property, though he was aware that he had no authority to transfer that property, and professes to transfer such property, and professes, thereby actually transfer or not, and professes to transfer such property for consideration. Such transfer shall, at the option of the transferee, operate on any interest which the transferor may acquire in such property at any time during which the contract of transfer subsists. You should remember the word, that will operate during at any time during which the contract of transfer subsists. This is very important, because for to attract this provision of section 43, there will be a representation by a person that representation must be either fraudulently or by erroneously. What representation? That is authorized to make a transfer and thereby professes to transfer certain property to another for consideration. Then such transfer will operate at the option of the transferee, that may propose transferee, because he has no title. So that's why we cannot say that he is actually a transferee. So the transferee during subsistence of the such contract. So this is provision. What is subsistence? Suppose that X had no title to the property, but that if X had no title to a property, that property belonged to his father. He represented it to another, to Y, that he was authorized, he had the title. He showed some documents, or even created some false documents and represented that this property is my property, I am authorized to transfer it, and he transferred that property, professed to transfer that property, professes to transfer that property for consideration, for money consideration. for any consideration, and after that transfer, he acquires any interest, he acquires interest in that property, then such transfer will operate, will be effective at the option of the transferee during subsistence of such contract. This will not operate, suppose the contract was revoked because the person erroneously repented another, he had title and he professed to transfer. Thereafter the transferee knew that the person who conveyed the property to me, he had no title, he cancelled the contract. And after that, if the original transferor acquires any interest, then this section will not be applicable. But the contract of transfer subsists. When that contract of transfer was subsisting, and during the subsistence of the contract, during the existence of that contract, that the transferor acquires interest in that property, in such case, the transferee will get this absolute interest, get the interest of the transferor, which he acquired after the transfer. Nothing in this section shall impair the right of a transferee in good faith for consideration without notice of the existence of the said option. Suppose a person, though this provision is there, this provision will not be applicable when another person, without notice of the first transfer by an unauthorized person, had become transferee for consideration in good faith. So what the illustration, suppose the very illustration will make you clear. A Hindu who was separated from his father. A and B are Hindu. A is the son, B is the father. A had been separated from his father. Sells to C 3 feet X, Y, Z. A sold 3 pieces of land, X, Y and Z, what? To another, which did not, but Z piece of land did not belong to him. After the death of his father, he succeeded that the Z piece of land. So in such case, and the contract of sale had not been rescinded. In such case, say that piece of land, Z on that piece of land, that is Z, the buyer will get perfect title. This is the doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel. Why? Again, because for your clear understanding, at the cost of repetition, I must say you, what is that? But this principle is not applicable when the truth is known to both the parties. The transferor and the transferee were aware of the fact that the transferor had no title to transfer. Then section 43 will not be applicable. This section 43 will be applicable when the earlier transfer was by the transferor by fraudulent or erroneous transfer. If the transferee were both aware of the fact that the transferor had no title, had not been authorized to transfer that property, even if such a transfer had been made, then if subsequently the transferor acquires any interest in that property, in such case, the doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel will not be applicable. What is feeding the grant by estoppel? That means the property, the grant which has been made to the transferee, that will be paid. That the deficiency of title will be paid by applying the principle of estoppel. Because the first transferor, by his act, erroneous act, misrepresentation act, he made another person to believe something to be true. He made another transferee to believe that he has been authorized to transfer, and he professes to transfer that property. So in such case, during the subsistence of the contract, if the contract has been revoked, then this principle will not be applicable. But during the subsistence of the contract of transfer, that sale, if that transferor acquires any interest in that property, then in such case, the transferee will get a valid title over that. That the interest which he got, that will automatically feed the deficiency in title of the transferee. This is called doctrine of feeding the grant by estoppel. So this is not applicable in the case when both transferor and the transferee were aware of the fact that the transferor had no title. Similarly, this doctrine will not be applicable when the transferor was a minor, because minor's contract is void ab initio. So this doctrine will not be applicable to minor. So similarly, this doctrine will not be applicable if subsequently the transferor acquires interest by any other title deed. This is not applicable. But in any other, naturally he acquires an interest, then this doctrine will be liable. What is this? So when it is, so you must have understood the provisions of section 43. This will not affect the transfer made for consideration if the transferee was not aware of the fact of earlier transfer and he became the transferee for consideration in good faith. This is the doctrine of feeding the grant of by estoppel. Again, at the cost of repetition, I must make you remember that first, a person erroneously or fraudulently represented another. What type of representation? That he had been authorized to transfer certain property and immutable property. Only it is in case of immutable property. And he professed to transfer that immutable property to another for consideration. Then in such case, if subsequent to that transfer, he acquires any interest in that property and the contract of transfer has not been revoked in the meantime, then such transfer will be valid, will take place, will be effective at the option of the transferee. If the transferee desires, no, I do not want to continue this contract, okay, that is an option is there with the transferee. This is section 43. Now let us come to section 44. It is also an interesting provision. Sometimes as a lawyer you will find case in which section 44 is applicable. For example, if such a case comes, most of the time a case comes, some undivided interest in a dwelling house is sold to a stranger, and stranger cannot take joint possession of the dwelling house with other co-sharers, but as per this provision of section 44. What section 44 says? Section 44, you go through section 44, what it says? Transfer by one co-owner. Transfer by one co-owner. What is one co-owner? There are, suppose a property, there are 2 to 3 co-owners are there. All are co-owners. When a property is owned by more than one person, those 2 persons are called co-owners. So where one of 2 or more co-owners, there are 3 co-owners, 2 co-owners, one of co-owner of immutable property, legally competent in that behalf transfers his share. If it is legally competent, if undivided interest in joint family cannot be transferred, in such case he is not legally competent. When one of the co-owner is legally competent to transfer his share or interest therein, then the transferee acquires as to such share or interest. When such a transfer takes place, the transferee acquires the share or interest in the property which belong to that co-owner, and so far as is necessary to give effect to such transfer, that means to give effect to such transfer, the transferor's right to joint possession, even for joint possession with other co-owners or other common or part enjoyment property, and to enforce a partition of the same, but subject to the condition and liabilities affecting at the date of the transfer the share or interest so transferred. That means you go through the provision again, where one of 2 or more co-owners of immutable property legally competent in that behalf transfers his share of such property or interest therein, then the transferee acquires a right for joint possession, even for claiming partition, and also for even possession of part of the property which that co-owner was exercising. This right is given to the transferee as per the provision of section 44. Suppose one of the co-owners, 5 brothers, were the owner of a particular land, piece of land. One of the brother sold his share of land to Mr. L. So in such case, L acquires a right of joint possession of that piece of land with other 4 brothers. But he is also entitled to file a suit for partition and to get the share of land which was sold to him. This right is conferred to him as per the provisions of section 44 of the Transfer Property Act. So in such case, when one of the co-owners who was competent to transfers his share or interest in any joint property, the transferee acquires as to such share or interest. The transferee gets the share or interest of the co-owner, and so far as is necessary to give effect to transfer. In order to give effect of such transfer, that means transfer made by the co-owner, the transfer's right to joint possession, because the transferor had a right, co-owner had a right to give to remain in joint possession with other co-owners, in order to give the effect of the joint possession of that co-owner with other co-owners, or other common or part enjoyment of the property, or common enjoyment or part enjoyment property, and to enforce a partition of the same, and the right to enforce the right of partition of the co-owner. All such, the transferee acquires all such right, and also subject to such condition and liabilities affecting the date of transfer. If any, on the date of such transfer, that share of property was liable for certain debt, etc., or certain liabilities, that transferee will also bear the burden of the same. Where the transferee of a share of a dwelling house belonging to an undivided family, you must, because many case comes. One of the brother sells a share in the dwelling house to a stranger. In such case, law prohibits that stranger for common possession with other co-sharers, because he is a stranger to the family. A stranger to the family must not come and live with other family members, affecting their privacy. So long it has not been partitioned. Only when a person is the transferee of a dwelling house belonging to an undivided family. When a transferee is of a dwelling house, undivided family dwelling house, he is not the member of the family, then nothing in this section shall be deemed to entitle him to joint possession or other common or part enjoyment. But so far as partition is concerned, he can claim partition, but only he cannot claim joint possession, either a common enjoyment or part enjoyment. This is in section 44. 44 is applicable in many cases when this, due to dispute in getting partition of the property, one of the co-owner transfers the property to a stranger, his share in a dwelling house to a stranger. In such case, the stranger purchaser, he can only claim partition, but he cannot claim, he is not entitled for joint possession of the property along with other co-owners. So this is section 44. What it says? A co-owner transfers his property and he is competent to transfer that property for consideration. Then in such case, the transferee acquires the interest and share of the co-owner, and to give effect of the transfer, he can also claim partition. He is also entitled for joint possession with other co-owners. But when a dwelling house there, undivided dwelling house, a share in undivided dwelling house is transferred, in such case, the stranger purchaser cannot claim joint possession. It's not permitted to possess that dwelling house jointly with others. But if it's one of the family members, he can possess. Suppose one of the property, the undivided share in the dwelling house was sold to one of the brother, but he can claim. He is entitled for joint possession. This section 44, you must be aware of the provision. What? A co-owner competent to transfer his share, he transferred that property. In such case, the transfer consideration only. Then in such case, the transferee gets the share and interest of that co-owner, and to give effect of such transfer, he can claim partition. He is also entitled for joint possession or part enjoyment or common enjoyment of that property with other co-owners. But when an undivided interest in the dwelling house is transferred by one of the co-owner to a stranger, then he is not entitled for joint possession of that property with other co-owners, but he can claim partition. This is in nutshell the provisions of section 44 of the Transfer of Property Act. Let us conclude. Thank you all.